you're very interested in military affairs. Is this a contradiction when you seek a greener world, or is it necessary to possess defensive skills? There's obviously a lot of peace movement stuff around at the moment with the possible Iraq war, and
that's a very complicated question.
Oh, certainly yes. Let's spark you off.
There are times, you see, peace is a very desirable thing for all of us, but unless everybody on the planet has an ingrained philosophy of peace, it can never be attained. All the while you have pressure groups that are saying they're better than you and they will kill anybody who says otherwise. All the while you have that type of insanity, you cannot turn your back on them, because as thousands of years of history has proved, they will inevitably stab you in the back sooner rather than later. And all we are doing is reliving history we should have learnt from. Being in a superior position that buys peace has great advantages, but it also breeds complacency. We now have the complacency of believing that we in the West are superior militarily to everybody else because we've got smart technology. But the spirit of the warrior resides within the heart, not within the microchip.
An economic determinist called Richard Hunt has proposed small armed villages with a regression of technology in order to create an alternative green society. Is this in any way a worthwhile concept?
Not really. Because you're down to resources, you're down to opinions. The smaller you make your communication block, the more arrogant and bigoted will be that communication block. Because you look at all the tribal names that traditional people call themselves, the Pashi, the Donka, and they generally mean something like we the people, and all the names they apply to their neighbours means that lot over there. So if you go into tribalism like that, that tribalism stops at the boundaries of an extended family. Now that extended family cannot control the amount of technology that already exists. Nobody will go backwards. People will not give up their mobile phones, they will not give up their cars, and they won't give up their central heating. And because of that, you have to have a larger society.
To be larger in terms of population?
Yes.
Yeah. So
small societies, although socially ideal to a certain degree, anything around about the 200 mark is a nice size for a community to work.
Yeah.
But extend that beyond that, and you begin to lose personal identification with every member. And there was some research done on islands, which I was reading up on some years back, on what is a stable population. It's around about 200 working units. But if you put that in a 19th century rural thing with horsepower, fair enough. You put it in the 20th century with modern medicine, where are you going to get your specialist surgeons from out of a community that size? Who's going to teach them? Are you going to break everything down to basic education, basic language, and whatever religious maniac gains control?
Yeah, I know Richard Hunt, who has a lot of theories which cover art and religion and stuff, and he said a lot of religion was designed to, bring power to cities, and art
He's
was...
wrong.
Well, I'm not saying he's right, I'm just...
the word religio, the word religion is based on the old word religio, which means to bind, to hold, to restrict, as in rigor.
Yeah.
And that was the purpose of religion, was to control and bind. It's a limiting factor, not an expansive factor. The best way is education for everybody. Let everybody take their education as far as they would like to. I don't believe we should force people to, and a lot of people would not be able to take their education higher because they just genetically did not have all the cards in the pack. That is a misfortune of reality. It's not a socio-political comment, but it's a fact. some people can retain information better, and the more people are educated in a true but not politically biased way, the better. Truth has a wonderful way of establishing reality.
What do you think about our current education system? Do you think it's enlightened in any way, or is it
Enlightened? I had very little education when I was a child because there was a war on, and I was extremely dyslexic, and that nasty little Austrian corporal kept on blowing up the schools I was tending because my parents lived in London for part of the time and in a village outside of Windsor for another part. And my education then, with schools of 30, classes of 32, 34, and sometimes bigger, up to nearly 40, the standard of education was higher then in the styrated times or restricted times of war than it is now. There is no excuse for the appalling standard of education, and moving the gateposts so that people can achieve levels of excellence lower. I mean to say, they are now stopping subjects left, right and centre to save money and building other ones up because industry wants this, and it's not what the people want. And no, we do not have an advantage in education. It has gone the opposite way. We are worse educated now than we were 30 years ago.
Does the same apply to universities, do you think, the new universities?
Yes. I would say that the standard has come down. Although one or two universities are fighting hard to raise their standards, most of the concrete block universities, as I tend to look at them, because you have the old classical cut stone universities, then you have the red bricks like Eton, although that's a college, but of that level, and then you have the concrete block of the 60s and later. So I've listened to some of these people with degrees from there, and their standard of basic literacy was very low. They could hardly use the native language. So how can we judge the quality of their new research if they cannot even explain their work properly?
Yeah, well, I suppose it's seen as elitist to use certain long words and stuff. Do you feel that language should be used properly and the full vocabulary should be used?
Why is it elitist to use one word succinctly when others would need nigh on half a paragraph to explain the same thing that is covered by one word which is in the dictionary with a full dictionary definition?
What sort of subjects have been cut out of the education system that you feel should be reinstated?
Well, the only subjects left are reading, writing, arithmetics, and subjects related directly to industry and the running of business. All the others have been removed. So it's a matter of take your pick. I think, as my interest has gone on to saving the studies of earth sciences, the whole of the earth sciences have been removed.
Is that like geology and stuff like that?
Yes. The only one of the earth sciences taught is geography, but then that is useful for the travel industry.
It's more of a humanity or arts subject, I thought, anyway, geography, in the way that it's taught about countries.
Well, no, it covers anthropology and things like that. Anthropology now isn't a specialist subject, and that is important to geography. There's no point in saying, well, Africa is there, unless you have some idea of what the Africans are and what they like. But all of those subjects with dealing with the earth sciences have been stopped, except those that tie in with the holiday industry, for instance. So geography is important for the holiday industry, so that's retained. It has come down to that stupid, mundane level. We do not have any wisdom in Parliament. It is full of self-glorifying cretins.